Hel- Hello.
Hi.
Hel- Hi. All right. Excellent. Was that Claudia that just said hi? I think or no? Who was that? Who just?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, great. Hello, Claudia. I mean, hi, Claudia. Hi, Maria.
Sir.
Oh, oh, hi, Christina. Thank you. Oh, that was you. Okay. And oh, this is great. Hello, Maria. Hello, Jada. Hello, Pauline. Oh, is that a wave or is that a dog? Hello, Pauline. Hello, Christina. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Josephine. Hello, Victoria. Welcome, Mohammed. Great to. Oh, there's more people coming. Great to see you. And more. Okay, more. And if you think we're going to spend this much time saying hello every single time, you're right. Actually, okay, but it'll be faster and faster each time. Who did I miss? Hello, Victoria. Hello. I said Mohammed. Hello, Logan. Hello, Katie. Now we can chat. Hello, Josephine. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Cheyenne. Good afternoon, Alexis. Good. Hello, Jenna. Hello, Katie. I'm being redundant. Good afternoon, Alan. Hi, Maria. Good afternoon, Emily. Hello, Logan. Good afternoon, Brandon. Hello, Paulina. Good afternoon, Jada. Morning, Eric. Okay, if that's redundant, it's because I was saying hello to the people on video first, then I was saying hello to the people in chat, and then I said hello to people in the hello, Alexis. All right, awesome. And who did I miss? Did I miss? I think that's it. Did I say Stephanie? Hello, Stephanie. If I didn't say hello, hello. Okay, we are going to say hello every time again because I'm crazy because I think that's important, but it will take less and less time every time. Hi, Stephanie. Oh, sorry. I mean, hello, people. Okay. Um. Okay. All right. So we're going to get rolling. So first of all, oh, more people coming. One sec. One sec. Okay. Who did I miss? I don't think I'm okay. And again, as always, anytime if I ever mention anybody's name or single anybody out, it's because in my mind I think something positive is happening. I'm not focusing on anything that's not anybody who's not here or anything that's negative. Hello, Shawnee, or anything that's wrong. That's not. If I focus on something or someone, it's because I think something positive is happening. Hello, Shawnee. Did I say that? Okay. Um. Okay. Okay. And each day, I think you'll find, hopefully, we'll be doing more and more material and going through the material more efficiently. I'm going to go over a couple, I'm going to just get us up to speed here. And then, before we, well, okay, yes, let me just say a couple of bookkeeping things first. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. One bookkeeping thing. Everybody who's in the room, there's a confirmation. I mean, I can check in a second, but everybody who's in with me right now, everybody who's in the Zoom room right now, all of you are in the Google Classroom, correct? Is that correct? Like, yes. Okay. Thank you for nodding. Thank you, Jenna. Oh, hello, Jenna, if I didn't say so. Okay. Great. Yes. Direct chopper. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And let me, and I'm not trying to single anybody out, but I will tell you this. If you're in the Zoom room right now and you hear me, if you're not in the Google Classroom or you're not totally sure if anything about what I'm asking, you're not even sure what I'm asking, send me a direct chat or a text. I'm going to remind you right now again, like you need, like, I don't, it's not about attendance or anything, but in order to do this class, you need to be in the Google Classroom. Like, I'm never going to check Blackboard again or CUNY first, so you get what I'm saying. So you'll never get a grade or anything unless you're in the Google Classroom. I'm just going to remind you one more time. People have already taken advantage of this in exactly the right way. The thing I just put in the chat is my cell phone number. I've already gotten texts from a couple of you, or maybe the other side, or at least one of you. And anybody I've gotten a text from was like totally polite. It was totally respectful. It was a situation I could manage to answer very quickly. So I think it was good for everybody. So please, if you have an issue with Google Classroom or anything, please text me. Also, if your name in Google Classroom is not your name, that's a little bit dicey. I just have to, well, I don't think that applies to anybody, but that gets very confusing, and could result in your grade, your credit going to somebody wrong. Oh, that's a good question. Okay. If you're asking, okay, I can check right now, actually, as long as you're asking. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, hang on. I mean, that's fair. I guess I could do all right, as long as I'm going to check right now. I will. I'm just going to very quickly right now. Oh, I say very quickly. I'm obviously lying. Hold on. Okay, if I read your name right now, it means you're in the Google Classroom. And I will say that almost every name that I read right now, I know that I've gotten a piece of work from, and almost everybody. We're going to talk about this in a second too. At least with game turn one, well, no, with that. If you've turned anything into me so far, first of all, congratulations and thank you. Second of all, you should have at least gotten some points. And we'll talk about that in a second. But in other words, part of the first day, part of our point this week is to make sure that we are in successful communication with each other in terms of your work and my responses to your work, my grades, right? So partly today, if nothing else, it's like a check to make sure the system is working for all of us. Okay, someone else is here. Hang on a second. And I will look in the chat in a second. But it's all about ironing out kinks today. So I'm going to start. I will read your name if you're in. Well, who was it that just asked? Shawnee asked. Shawnee. So actually, Shawnee, to tell you the truth, to answer your question, actually, Shawnee, I don't see you in the Google. Oh, wait, but are you the one that's in the actual other section? I don't see you.
Yes, I'm the one that's in the.
Oh, okay. That's a little confusing. All right, hold on. So I think we do have that. That's a little confusing to me. I know I gave permission for that and everything, and that's great. But I wonder if I should have told you to be in the Google Classroom for this class. But hold on one second. Yeah. And I see a question in the direct chat, which I'll totally answer in a second. Very fair question. And there's only one. So if you put something in the direct chat, I totally see you, and I will address that for real in a moment. Okay, but now Shawnee's question. Hold on, Shawnee. Right. Okay. So Shawnee, you are in Google Classroom. It is the other one that's slightly confusing, maybe to you and to me, but I think it's, let me just confirm, as long as you're asking, and I appreciate right. Technically, you're registered for the other section, right? So like you're on the CUNY First roster for the other section. Is that correct? Shawnee,
Yes, I'm on for the other section because that was the only way that I could get the 230 lab.
right. Okay.
Remember?
Which is all fine. And I know I get permission for that, and I totally understand. So I think, even though this is going to be a little confusing, we're going to leave you in the Google Classroom file for the other class. You might have to remind me occasionally that this is going on, but yes, you're totally in, and I have your work, and I think you got back something from me, or I hope, or you should check. But yes, all your work is happening in the other section, because at the end of the day, like, your grade is going to have to be sent to the other section. So this may be a little confusing to us right now, but I think it'll be less risky in the long run. And if you're fine with it, but yes, I do see you there. And as long as we're addressing this, I think you got back something from me, or you should check. Well, let's see. Hold on. And then we'll move on to other. But again, this is.
Yes, I got back the first one, the first assignment I got back from you. And then I did email you, and we talked about the assignment and the classroom. And I'm working on the assignment. I kind of am done with it. I'm about to upload it later on today. But I'm mostly done.
Okay. No,
I was
great.
able to download the classroom on the iPad and on the MacBook, so now I should be able to see everything now.
Awesome. All right. So we're on the same page. That's great. Occasionally, you might just have to remind me again that you're in the others, but that's great. And you'll upload it later. And man, I guess technically it's not due for you till 3:05 anyway. I mean, but right. So, okay. And for anybody else who hasn't turned it in yet, we'll talk about that in a moment also. But yes, great. Okay, cool. So everybody, I'll just read quickly. Let me go back to this section. All right. So everybody else in the room believes. Well, okay, hold on. So if your name, I'm just going to quickly read. I believe that Logan, Chris, Claudia, Mohammed, Cheyenne, and I think I'm still mispronouncing that, but sorry, Cheyenne, Emily, Paulina, Josie, Stephanie, Alan, Katie, Nancy, Alexis, Victoria, Jada, Jenna, Eric, Shirley, Brandon, and Maria. I see you all in the Google Classroom. You're all set. If I didn't just call your name, and Shawnee, if you're in the room and I didn't call your name, you may want to reach out to me personally so we can make sure we're okay. There's a question in the direct chat about the 5-step method. Like, can we go over it? The answer is absolutely yes. Like, that is the primary purpose of today. We are definitely going to go over it. Yes. And And on that note, let me tell you all. Oh, right. So the way, now there's another question in the direct chat about, will I be going over homework problems as well? Yes, once we get rolling, let me say a couple, these are all great questions. Once we get rolling today, my whole thing that I'm going to do, this is more like recitation ultimately than lecture. I think, I hope, in a way. Once I get rolling, exactly what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be walking through how to solve the homework. I'm going to be trying to teach concepts as I go, but I'm going to be walking through how to do the homework, and I'm going to be showing you how to do it according to the 5-step method. So in a way, today, once we get rolling, my goal is to start showing you the material of the homework and showing you how this 5-step method works for the future, for all homeworks and for all exams. That's absolutely the point of today. And we will get to that in a moment. Now, let me say a couple things about that. Because the goal is to set you up for all the future assignments and the future exams in both Physics 203 and Physics 204. Because that's the goal, I will tell you that right now, there's no way we're going to finish going over homework. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's very likely that we won't finish going over homework 1 today, and that's okay. Just know that will happen, because we're going to spend time sort of talking about both the concepts and how to do homework. That's number one. Number two, every day, in a way, once we get rolling, all we're ever doing in this class is going over problems, going over homework problems. That's like sort of, once we're rolling, that's sort of like all we're doing. All the teaching will happen through going over problems. Like always, they're not PowerPoint presentation lectures. They're just going over problems. Now, and I think that's a good thing. And it also means we'll go at the pace. Like, you should stop me at all times and ask questions. You should, especially at this stage of the semester. And remember, anybody who just asked me questions right now, like Shawnee just used her voice. I just want to remind you that she can like triple dip. The fact that she just asked questions right now and actually literally used her voice. Please remember, there's like at least 3 different portals that she can submit that to for points. And if she did it again tomorrow, she could submit again to those portals tomorrow. And that applies to all of you. Just remember, every time you should feel like you can interrupt me or re-steer me, because I'm just going to keep going unless you do. You're not slowing us down. None of you. If you stop and ask something or say, wait, can we talk about this over here or something? You are not slowing us down. You are making the class a class. If I ever feel like we can't get to something or we have to keep going, believe me, I'll let you know. And that will happen more as we get, but especially at this game, it is about, at this stage of the game, it is about me trying to make sure that you all like feel okay and ready to go. That's what it's about. Okay. So any of you that stops at any time or in the private chat to say like, wait, I don't know what's going, like that is not an interruption of the class. That is the class. So that's a good thing. So yes, I'm going to be going over homework problems. Yes. I'm going to be going over the 5-step method. Yes. Like all the time. But 2 more general things to say about that, or maybe a bunch of things. Number one, one of the reasons I'll always be going over the problems in class is you do notice you're assigned the problems first. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. I see Claudia's question in the chat. No. I'm totally. Oh, and I have a million things to say about Claudia's great question in the chat. Let me just finish the sentence first. And again, honestly, especially today at this stage of the year, if I never even get to any of the things I was planning on saying today, and believe there is always a plan, there is a curriculum, there are things we need to get to, and we always do get to everything eventually. We do. I do have a plan. It's not, but if we ended up spending this entire class me answering your questions and it made everybody feel okay and like ready to go, that would not be a wasted class. It'd be fine. It would be good, actually. So I will get to Claudia's question in a moment. I promise. But before I lose my train of thought, let me just say, well, this is sort of related to Claudia's question. One of the things in physics that does take some getting used to, one of the things that's hard in physics classes at John Jay, in lecture and lab, is you notice first you get posed questions and assignments. You're asked to do things. Then we go over them. That is it, right? I didn't assign reading. And I didn't give you a PowerPoint lecture presentation on the material first. I know that. Like I didn't spell out like definitions or anything. I just gave you a sheet and said, go give it your best shot. Like give it your best shot and let's see. And then we come back the next day and talk about it. Now, this takes some getting used to. This is not all classes are like this, but some are, obviously. But I do want you to know that it is on purpose. And if you're feeling a little bit like, wait, did he explain this? In fact, one person even texted me like, wait, where are the resources for this sheet? Like, I don't even know where did you explain this stuff for the sheet? I didn't. That is true. One of the hard things about physics, we're trying to get you, physics is something that is figure outable. Once you have the definitions, all of physics comes from the definitions. There's almost never some just thing that comes out of nowhere that we just have to accept and memorize. I mean, we're used to doing that sometimes in other science areas, but in physics, everything is like a next logical step from some earlier step. That doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean we always all figure it out, but it means it's possible. So the way physics goes is I ask you problems, or in lab, we give you tasks. You try your best to figure them out. You have to have the experience of being a researcher, of breaking new ground, of not necessarily having a formula or an algorithm for what to do immediately. You have to start figuring out what to do when you don't know what to do. Then we come back and talk about it, which we'll do today. That's always the way it's going to be. You are asked to figure out something first. Then we talk about it. And over time, what we're trying to do is get you better and better at facing things that you don't recognize. What we're really trying to teach you over 2 semesters, we're trying to teach you what to do when you don't know what to do. Like, honestly. Now, that's hard, and it frustrates people at first. If you're frustrated or you feel that big, I'm just here to say, like, I know you're not alone. That's not unusual, but it's not your fault. You didn't miss something. And it's also not my fault for forgetting to teach you something. This is the way it goes. We asked you to do the sheet and try and look at the 5-step method and try and do your best. You turned it in. Now we're going to go over it. One reason for doing it that way is we think it's more likely, or we have found it's more likely that most of you are going to actually pay attention today and have really good questions or really good insights because you've already thought about, like, you're coming in here already curious or frustrated or edgy or whatever. Like most of you have already thought about this stuff. So we can hit the ground running. Now, that's all the good thing. On the side note, on the other hand, of course, that makes everybody scared and jittery. So let me address Claudia's question and a couple other things. This is why the grading system is the grading system. In fact, I didn't even spell it out for you Monday. The first thing I want to make clear, especially on this early assignment, you are all going to get full credit on this first assignment as long as you want to. Your grade is going to go up and up and up on this first assignment until it's full credit. It will. I mean, this is partly the answer to Claudia's question. Whatever you turned into me right now, I consider a first draft, and whatever score I gave to you is a very, very preliminary first draft. In fact, I put a note in the chat. You might have, in the Google Classroom. Like, I didn't even look at your work yet. If you got a 15, that does not mean that you're missing anything or you did 1/3 of it or 1/4 of it wrong or anything like that. It means, because it was technically due like right now, right? The homework was technically due, or, it was technically due 20 minutes ago. So I haven't graded it yet. I haven't even looked. What I just did was look to see, is it thorough? Is it full? Did you basically follow the format of handing in a separate PDF, and like not copying onto the sheet and all that? And each one of you that got a 15 did that. You made a clear, valiant attempt of a thorough thing to get the thing in and get it on time. So I'm not saying you only got 15 out of 20 points. I'm saying you've already gotten 15 out of the 20 points. Boom. Thank you. It's just my way of saying, like, check, boom, we're good. Now I'm going to go back and look at it more closely. Many of you, if I look at it, I haven't even looked at it yet. I'm not even pretending I have. Because again, it was technically due 10 minutes ago. When I then go to look at it, some of you, it turns out you didn't just turn it in. Some of you did everything super right. Like, you did every step of the 5-step method. And even if you got some wrong answers, you did every step for every problem. Some of you, once I look at it and put checks on it, you're going to get a 20. And it's not that I changed my mind. It's just that this is all like accumulative. Okay. So don't worry at all. If you got a 15, that's the most you could have gotten so far just from my first glance. Put it that way. If you got a 15 already, you already have 100% of what is possible so far. Then you may well get the rest 5 points like tonight or something. Some of you, maybe when I look at it closely, I'm going to find that there are mistakes or things that we need to work, or maybe you didn't understand the 5-step method and we're going to figure that out. But that's why I'm going to explain that today. So some of you at the end of tonight or tomorrow, maybe it'll turn out you got a 17, like you got a 15 for like doing like a good try. And then like you did better than that, but like maybe you only got a 17. Still, those of you who will end up with a 17 tonight or tomorrow, you're still then, I'm just telling you what still needs to happen. And since we're talking about it in class, then you'll still get a chance to revise and re-upload until you get a 20. So this is like a give and take. It's all like drafts and revisions, correct, like course and correction for both in both directions from here on in 203 and 204. It takes some getting used to. It's not always the system all classes use. So we take a few days to get used to it here. Okay. And I'll say a lot of, we'll be talking a lot about this over the next few days. But so the hard part is you have to think about things before I explain them. You have to try before I explain them, because that's really the way physics, and particularly physics research, goes. The first physicists that did all this physics, they had to figure it out. They didn't have anywhere to look. And we're training ourselves not to learn about physics, but to learn how to do physics. So you try first, then I look at what you tried, then I explain, then you get more chance to get more points back. And this will be true even in the second homework. You'll get to revise and upload until you get all the points for that too. Like you have to get things in on time for the first draft, but then you'll have time to get more points back afterwards. The curtain doesn't fall down like in one go, except on exams, which we'll talk to when we get to. So hopefully that's sort of clear. Now, wait. Right. Okay. I'm gonna look. Oh, okay, cool. So I'm gonna look in the chat, and I still have more. And again, this takes some getting used to. It's all, I think you'll find what people usually by Physics 204 find once they get used to this, or once they actually believe me of what I'm saying, they actually, I think people like it in the end. But some of it's unusual and takes some getting used to. So I'm happy to spend the first few classes getting us used to it. I'm going to look in the chat. I see there's things happening in the chat. The one emphasis I'm trying to say right now is nobody has lost any points yet in this class. Like nobody has. I mean, and honestly, on this first homework too, even if you haven't turned it in yet, okay, that's not ideal. Like you kind of do want to hand in the first homework on time. Like it makes a better impression and it will prevent you from falling behind and all that. Like it's better. But the truth is, even those of you who have not, and there's a couple of you who have not turned in the first homework yet, you still can. And you can still get all the points, I think, but then you want to catch up sort of quickly. Wait, there was one other thing about this too. And when I start going over this stuff, you're hearing me loud and clear. If you think, oh, why does that keep happening? Oh, Google. Oh my God, Siri thinks I'm teaching her. I am trying to say, if you're getting the message that once we start finally going over this, like if you're hearing, wait, so then can I use the stuff that he talks about in class and like use that to like fix my homework or improve it or revise it? Yes, that is not cheating. That is the point of why we're in this dialogue. Also, you can use any resource you want ever to do homework, and you can help each other. You should. None of that is cheating. We'll talk about cheating later. I'm not up to talking about cheating yet, but none of that is cheating. So absolutely. So the whole point is hopefully you'll have more of an incentive to pay attention in class once I go over, because you already know what you need to know or find out. Okay, now I'm going to look in the chat, and I am aware that I'm saying all of this about all these points, and I still haven't explained to you how the points work. So I still do have to explain that, but let me just look in the chat here. Hold on a second. Right. So hopefully, okay. So I did answer. So Claudia's question, thank you, Claudia, for saying, okay, thank you. That clears things up. And remember again, Claudia can submit her question for participation points into one of those game portals. She could take the exact same screenshot or the exact same moment, and she can submit it into that portal that's called closing a conversational path, right? Because she like let me know that I can move on now. If that is definitely unusual. I mean, the other classes don't do that. You take some getting used to. Maybe you don't even believe me yet. But if you're still unclear about those game portals, please let me know, because they are serious and they do count for points. So, but yes, the answer to Christina's question is Absolutely, you can submit again. Homework one, yes, you can submit again. But let's talk about that for a second, too. This is on Christina's question. First of all, if you got a 15 on homework one, like if you didn't do it yet, please do make an attempt. And yes, I'll eventually start talking about it today. So yes, you can use what I talk about today, but I ain't going to finish it. That's, you can tell, that's for sure. So if you haven't turned it in yet, if you want to show good faith and sort of show that it was like kind of anomalous and normally you are on time and stuff like that, what I would highly advise to the couple of you who have not turned it in yet, what I would highly advise is when you go to turn it in, like tonight or whatever, I would highly advise that you do work past the point that I get to in class today. Like if I get to the first two questions today, make sure that you go all the way to like at least the fifth question or something to show that you didn't just wait. I think you understand what I'm saying. But yeah, but okay, that's that. For those of you who turned it in, yes, you can turn it in again, but if you got a 15, don't turn it in again yet. Because what I'm trying to say is the 15 is just my way of acknowledging that you're on time and you're good. I haven't even looked at it yet. So you're probably, a lot of you are still going to end up with a 20 without having to do anything. So don't turn it in again yet until you get any kind of comments from me. Like if you end up getting some comments and you get a 17, then sure, you can turn it in. So yes, you can. And that will apply to the future homeworks as well. It's just that honestly, once this course gets rolling and once we have more homework stacked up, it gets sort of harder and harder for you to keep revising and re-uploading without falling behind. So, but it will stand as it's always your right to revise and upload for a higher grade. All these homeworks are drafts. Your job is to try to get in your first draft on time so that you can pay attention in class and have good questions and not fall behind. But yes, the homework you can definitely turn in for a higher grade. Okay, so I think that hopefully that answers Christina's question. Okay, Claudia's question. Okay, Alexis. Yes. And now, yes, Alexis is correct. We can continuously submit until you get full credit or until you get as much credit as you want. That's correct, what Alexis said. Also, please note, Alexis, I think it's Alexis. Yeah, Alexis can screenshot what she just, I think it's she, sorry, or correct me if my pronoun's wrong, but Alexis can screenshot what Alexis is saying in the chat here. Alexis can screenshot that and submit it to the portal that says, to the game portal that says multiplayer co-op, because Alexis just helped another person in the room. Like Alexis just acknowledged that somebody else in the room exists and had a legitimate question, and Alexis tried her best to address it. Let me add that if that was, so I hope you understand that. Stop me if you don't know what I'm talking about. And if Alexis did that again tomorrow, she could submit again tomorrow to that same portal called multiplayer co-op. I mean, they're all like overly cutesy names, but they're serious. Also, whoever Alexis was just helping, I think it was Christina. Christina can also submit to that same portal. Christina and Alexis just collaborated. One was like on the receiving side and one was on the sending side. Doesn't matter. They both just collaborated. So they both can get points for that. I'm serious. That just reminds me of another thing. Again, I know I'm talking off, but we're just trying to get this all out of the way. And again, remember, this is all the systems for the next 2 semesters. So it's good to understand them. Another thing is I'm talking about that you can submit again and upload again. Let me make something clear about that. Say you get a score on a like on a physics homework, but it's not a perfect score. So you want to upload again to get a higher score, which we're saying, please do. What I do want you to do is also leave your old draft up there. There's a million reasons for that, not the least of which is it shows how much work you're doing. Like that's the easiest reason. Like if you're doing a lot of revisions and a lot of drafts and you're like doing stuff and then getting feedback and then responding to feedback, like how great a scholar are you? The answer is very great. So when you put a new thing up, don't erase your old work. Now Google's a little tricky of how to do that. The answer is, I think what you have to do, you can correct me, you can try this later and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you do have to do is this one slightly scary thing. You have to, once you've gotten a grade back from me on homework, once you've gotten a grade from me on a homework, you have to actually hit a button that's either called unsubmit or unturn it in or something. Like you do have to hit some button that says, I'm taking this back, but you don't remove the file. You're just removing your like commitment to that file. You have to hit something that says unsubmit or unturn it in or something. And then you upload your new file, like you upload your new attachment. So what you're saying to Google is, I'm not calling that my work anymore. That file's still there, but I'm not calling that my submission. I'm attaching a new attachment, and now I'm calling this whole package of attachments my submission. And then you hit turn it in. Okay. That's a little, try it on your own. But what I'm saying there is that, so every time you submit something to me, submit one file, and this applies to everything. Every time you submit something to me, submit one file, not a whole bunch of JPEGs scattered around, one file. And then if you submit a revision or a new thing, you submit a new file in addition to the old one. And that applies even to all of those game portals, such as video. Like so many of you are showing video to me today, and it makes me so happy, even though I'm not making any eye contact, and that's embarrassing. But I see that so many of you are showing video, and that's so great, right? So each one of you can, and even if you turned off your video right now, you could take a screenshot of the moment that you had video and you could submit it to the video portal, right? But the thing is that many of you who are showing video today also did on Monday. I'm telling you, you can get points for both of those days. So what do? You submit the video like today, okay? And then you'll get points. And then next Monday, if you show video again, just upload again a new, whatever technique I just explained a second ago. Just make sure that you're uploading a new file and not getting rid of the old file. And then you'll get, so that I can always see, oh, they've got 3 video files up there. Well, that means that they showed video 3 different, and they've got 3 different date timestamps on them. So they submitted 3 different days. So here's 3 times whatever points. Like, okay, it really does work like that. Now I still have to explain where all these points are going, and I know I have to get back to the physics soon, but I love these questions. So, okay, so after every, so I'm looking at Nancy's question in the chat now. So after every assignment, we learn the things that we tried. Right. So, okay. So what Nancy said, yeah. So after every assignment, then we start learning the things that we tried in the homework. That's correct. And then you have an opportunity to resubmit. Yes. Some people call this a backwards classroom or an inverted classroom. I don't know. I was doing this long before they called it that. But yes, whether you, maybe some of you don't like that or it sounds weird at first, but yes, what Nancy is saying is what I'm saying. And you never have to resubmit, but you always can. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Also, as you can see the way I talk, like we'll go faster and faster and more efficiently as time goes on. But often I won't go over a whole assignment in one day. It may take me a while to get to the whole assignment. And still you're being asked to do other things in the meantime. That will happen. So, the workload does pile up, but your goal is, and if I ever fall too behind myself, I'll readjust and I'll say, okay, you can't do this next assignment yet. You're not ready. So I'll postpone it. Like I'll watch that. But if I think you have just enough definitions in your back pocket or enough grounding to dive in and try the next thing, I'm going to ask you to do that. And part of what you're trying to learn is what to do when you don't know what to do. If you ever look at an assignment and you feel like, whoa, wait, I've never thought about this before. I don't even think he's like literally said anything about this before. I don't know what's going on here. Is he expecting that I remember this from high school or something? If you have that feeling, you're not crazy. And I'm not crazy either. I probably am crazy, but you're not. If you have the feeling like, wait, I don't know what this is about. Like I haven't thought about this before. That's correct. That's the feeling you're supposed to have when you first look at some new physics. But then you're supposed to go, so somehow this must be a new topic that somehow is figure outable from the last topic. That's always the idea. That's what happens in physics. The idea is that whatever you last learned, somehow, if you think about it hard enough and apply it hard enough, it'll help you figure out this next thing. That's the muscle that we're trying to develop and exercise here. It takes getting used to. It's the part of this that sort of seems harsh, but the whole grading system is designed to not discourage you or punish you away from getting used to that. But yes, so what Nancy said is yes. Wait. Oh, sorry. Okay. And thank you, Alexis. Okay. Got it. Cool. Okay. Thank you, Alexis. Okay. And I was only asking because I don't, yeah, great. Okay. Great. All right. And yes, Jenna, You will get feedback on your homework. The homework that you just, and sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. And sometimes when I start falling behind, sometimes a lot of the feedback will come in class rather than in writing. But no, like this first homework, for example, you'll definitely get feedback. It was due at the first moment in this class. So I didn't give you feedback yet. I just acknowledged that you turned it in. You will get feedback on it. Now I do teach a lot of students. So sometimes my feedback does get delayed and sometimes it's never quite as good as it should be. But yes, you will. Again, please note, if you got a 15 on this first homework, that means I'm not even pretending I looked at it yet. I'm just saying you did basically the right thing. Okay. Submit, Nancy. Oh, unsubmit. That's about. Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Maria. So they are, well, both. Okay. So thank you, Maria, and thank you, Nancy. They are totally multiplayer co-oping. So they're helping everybody understand how to add new files so unsubmit is okay, great. All right. And thank you, Jenna. Okay. And then Jenna also gets closing a conversational path. Okay. Now I do want to get to the physics, but these are all great questions. Let me okay. I'm going to take a breath for a second. Also notice, just for example, I just want to point out again, because I noticed like Emily, for example, now has like an orange box with the letter E in it. That alone constitutes an avatar in my judgment. Like just to be clear again, Emily can submit, and she's just an example. I mean, but I'm just saying, like, anything that's not a black box counts as an avatar. You can submit for points for that. Now, I do want to get to the physics. I want to take a breath and first of all say, I know this is I'm all jittery. And of course, all of this is being recorded and you can play this later more slowly to get straight what's going on. What I'm trying to get across is that, yes, there's some unique systems to the expectations in this class. And yes, I'm really generous and loose about certain things. I'm really bizarrely strict about other things. It's hard to predict. So that can make people jumpy. So I'm just trying to lay it out right now. Let me just ask this before I move on. Can you just raise an electronic hand or can you indicate if what I've been saying in the last 10 minutes is somewhat clear? Cool. Awesome. Thank you all. Okay, great. Okay, great. I will then start getting to the 5-step method and the physics, but there's one more on this whole subject. One thing I feel I definitely have to tell you. I'm saying all of these things, but I never, on Monday, I never literally told you where all these points go. And I need to tell you so that you can really believe me, and particularly so that you can really understand ultimately my answer to whose question was. Someone asked like sort of a multi-part question. I sort of only answered part of it. Yeah, Claudia's question. There's like more to say about it. I mean, she asked like if we don't, again, and I apologize in advance also about just let me know privately in the chat if I mess up a pronoun. I'm being serious. Like, it's particularly awkward on Zoom. Well, I don't know if it did, but anyway, just please forgive me in advance and just tell me privately if I'm making a false assumption or something. Which ones you use. Okay. But on Claudia's question, wait, let me back up on that too, because even that bothers me that I just said that. Let me know in the private chat or in a text message if in any way I'm like doing something that's alienating you, like literally, truly, or like if you have, that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that there's always something I can do about it or something, but like, let me know what you need in the if you need something that I can't supply or that I think it's like we'll have an open, honest conversation about it, like in text, or we'll have a Zoom, office hours or something. But like, because there is this thing of Zoom leads to a lot of. It's very easy for me to make mistaken assumptions about anybody in the room and what they need or why they're here or what is I can't read responses as well. So just know I'm open to feedback, especially we're going to be together for a long time. And I hope in a really good way. But I'm right now telling you, any of you who's not doing the homework the way I want, like this is the time. And then I'm saying, but if you got it wrong, it's all forgiven. You have another chance. Like, let's just get it straightened out. So you also, to me, if I'm getting something wrong with you, if you can politely and respectfully tell me privately, we can correct it before we go too far. But okay, what I was going to say, wait, I'm just looking. Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay. I see the direct message. Thank you. Got it. And yes, Katie, thank you. Excellent point. Yeah, you totally can. That's and I'm assuming when I look at public chat, I'm assuming everybody can see it, so I'm not always reading it out loud. But yes, the pronouns you can add to your name in the Zoom account. Said excellent point. Thank you, Katie. That also is multiplayer co-op. Okay, let me just quickly, even though this is boring, I think it's super important. Let me tell you how these points work. So because it goes to Claudia's questions about like basically like because a 15 out of 20. Let's even go for, let's say we're really rolling now and we're like into a regular assignment and there's like not, and someone gets like a 31 out of 35. Like, what does that mean? Like, so it means they're not missing any points. It doesn't mean that they got a percentage. It means they got 31 extra points. In some way, I'm going to explain right now, all of these points in a way are extra. Here's how the grading system works. It is technically in the syllabus, but it's probably hard to understand. So you could write it down. And you can ask me privately to explain this again later, or you can read, but it's very important to know this because it affects how you do your work. And it's true for all of lecture and recitation in 203 and in 204. Here's how it works. Wait, everybody can hear me right now, right? Everybody's with me? Okay. Here's how the grading works. And how the grading works is this. You'll have a midterm exam. You'll have a final, and we'll talk about it before we get there and all of that, but you'll have a midterm exam. You'll have a final exam. You'll have your final grade in lab, like when all is said and done, right? After all of your work and everything you do in lab, you'll have those three big numbers when all is said and done. Now, those numbers are generally, well, anyway, you have those three big numbers: a midterm exam, a final exam number, and a lab number. So first, what happens is those three numbers are averaged together in the traditional arithmetic mean fashion. Okay. Since we only have two exams, we can't like ignore one of them. Like they both count. We don't curve the exams for reasons you'll see in a second. Sometimes there's like a lot of extra credit or whatever, and sometimes we get very generous. And sometimes some semesters, if people are working really, really hard and stuff like that, I'll institute something where I'll say if you did better on one of the two exams, I'll weight it a little bit more. Or like sometimes I go off syllabus and do things to help people, and I'll always tell you if I do, but I never go off syllabus and do anything to lower anybody's grades. I promise you that. But basically, first of all, you have three numbers that get averaged in a straight fashion with each other, and that becomes your base average, your exam average, okay? So that means in principle, the lab counts about 33% of everything. But then everything else you do, all of these other homeworks, the regular physics homeworks that start being worth a lot more points, like the next one's worth like 35 points or something, and then they like all the physics homeworks that are about problem solving, and all of the game portals, all the participation stuff, and all these other kind of extra credit or like point things that you're going to see I'm going to get. Like even when I make an announcement to you, you'll see. If I ever have to make an announcement, like we're going to meet 10 minutes early, 10 minutes late tomorrow, or like we can't meet tomorrow, so you have to watch a video or instead or something, you're going to see that whenever I make an announcement of logistics, I'm going to ask you to confirm that you received and understood the announcement. And as long as you confirm and receive, as long as you respond and confirm that you got the announcement, you're going to get points for that. Like no joke. So you get points all over the place in this class. All of those points and they're all count as points. Homework, game homework, participation points, communication points, any points you get, they're all just accumulating in a big pile for you. Okay. They're just adding up in an Excel spreadsheet and in the Google Classroom. They are all, on the one hand, extra credit in the sense that if you don't do any of those things, if you never do one homework or you never do one game participation thing, you don't get zeros. It doesn't penalize you. You don't get your average lowered. So let me say that. Okay. So this is part to the Claudius thing. Literally, it is all of these things are optional. They're highly recommended. You'll see why in a second. Like they'd be crazy not to do. But if you don't do any homework, you never get you don't get a zero for it. You don't get a penalty for it. So on the one hand, part of what I'm saying is, so anyway, so that's the case. However, all the points that you do accumulate, and most people start to see that this is very worth taking advantage of because so many of the points are so easy to get comparatively, like every one of the nightly 5-point game turns, all of those go into a pile. And by the end of the semester, most of you, or the average one of you, will have accumulated like, let's say, like 200 of those points. Okay, that's the typical. So what do I do with those 200 points? Well, of course, I don't give you a 200 in the class. That doesn't make any sense. And I can't add 200 to like your exam. Say your exam average was like an 82 in the class. I'm not going to add 200 to that and say that your average is a 282. But what I do at the end of every semester, I look at all these numbers and I come up with one generous scaling factor that's different every semester. It's usually roughly the same, but it's different every semester, but it's the same for every single student. Okay, I come up with one scaling factor. Let's say in this example, let's say you accumulate 240 points. Okay, let's say you accumulate 240 points, and that's realistic. And let's say this semester, the scaling factor at the end of the semester, let's just say, is a scaling factor of 20. Okay, so what that would mean, and I'll tell you how I come up with that. I mean, there's a formula for coming up with that, but that would mean that every single student, I take the total amount of points they got and I divide it by 20, and whatever that result is, I add straight to their exam average. So this is just an example, but it's a very realistic example. Say you accumulated 240 points on all the homeworks and everything you did. Again, notice that means maybe it was out of a possible 300 points or something, but I don't care about the 60 that you didn't get. You're not being punished. They're not missing. It's not a percentage. If you accumulated 240 points and at the end of the semester, I divide by 20, that means you're getting 12 points added on to your exam average. And this is not an exaggeration. You all know, you can do the math. That means if you had like an 81 on your exam average, then I'm adding 12 to that. So now it's a 93. That's a substantial difference. This is on purpose. This is the purpose of the grading system. That means that even if you sort of ended up having like a B minus because of the way because exams are hard and stressful and blah, 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 or you're not an exam taker by birth, or you struggled in that, if you had an 81, but then you did all of this work, now your 81 is turned into a 93. As I don't have to explain to you, that's the difference between a B minus and an A, right? Or in some of your cases, it might make the difference between a C minus and a B, or like whatever. And then after those points are added, then there's an extra point that I have, it's instructor discretion, that I can give to as many people as I want. One more point for scholarly initiative, which basically means if you clearly were a presence in the class, if you went out of it was clear that you were here every day, or like most days, it was clear that you were trying in the chat. Like we all know who you are. You're like, and you like, and you were ahead of things, not behind. If you just took initiative and just showed that you like extra, then I can give you an extra point for that. Like we used to call that a point for participation, but everything else is already participation in this class. So I call it initiative. So, and the purpose of that point, like some of you will never care about that point and whatever. I mean, there's no limit to how many people I can give it to. The purpose of that, honestly, is if you're right on the borderline, even after your 12 homework points, if you're then still on a borderline, like you have a 92.7, we all know how frustrating it is to have a 92.7, right? And then at that point, and then the teacher's like, well, sorry, John Jay rules, blah, 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 blah. So you get an extra point to push you over as long as you really tried and all of that, you get an extra point to push you over the borderline. So there's no ambiguity. And now you have a 93.7 and now you have an A. Now, I know I'm talking about this a lot, but it's really important that you know how this works, because the point of and then I will say this too. It took me a long time to come up with all of this and everything. It is designed so that there is more than one path to an A, that there's more than one way to get an A, that some of you who are just rocking exam takers can take 2 exams, get a 95 on both of them, rock your lab, and never have to worry about any of this. And that's not my business. That's fine. Or you just remember everything from high school physics, Quark, bless America. If you could just get an A on now, most people don't, because the exams are hard. But those of you who can just rock the exams and ignore all of this, fine. And hopefully then you help your friends learn physics too. But those of you who struggle on exams and stuff like that, you are in an absolute firing position to get an A by virtue of all this other work that you're going to do that actually isn't that hard. It just means staying super engaged and focused. So what I'm trying to say, and then I'm done, I'll look in the chat in a second. And I will explain this again to anybody privately. It's a little bit unusual, but the point is everything you do here besides exams is technically extra credit. Nothing is required. But it can make a humongous difference in your grade. It's designed to say that at least a grade and a half, if you know what I mean, a letter grade and a half can be accounted for by actual engagement and work in the class, that the exams do not define the whole thing in the end. So it also leads to the conclusion in the end that and I think I said this, but I want to say it one last time. There is that you might ask, how do I decide on this scaling factor? What I decide on by looking at all the numbers, and I decide on a number that ensures that at least some people will get A's. In other words, it's the opposite of it allows all the extra work all the real work you do in the class to act as a lever to in effect curve up the impact of your exam grades. So we don't curve the exam grades, but we lever up the whole thing based on all the other work you do, because that's most of the time you're spending here is not on the day of the exam. So what that means is if all of you end up with an A, fantastic. There's no limit on that. If all of you end up with an A and it's legit and you earned it, I'm thrilled for you, and I'm thrilled. And then maybe the next semester is a little bit harder, but there's no limit on that. So I want you to help. I want to say again that if one of you is shooting for an A, that does not threaten your neighbor's chance at an A. If one of you helps another person try to get an A, that just helps your chances more, not less. That's part of the purpose of all this. It also does mean that at the end of the day, when all's said and done, and you've gotten the extra point or whatever, when all this is said and done, then whatever your number is what your number is, and then I can't do anything more for it. And so if after all of that, you can't pass, there will be still some people that still can't pass the course. There will be. And I don't want to get into all that right now, but every semester there still will be some people that can't pass the course. And they may be for 1,000 reasons, like family, home, all these things. And I've had a lot of people have to take the course again, and then they rock it the next time. I say this with sympathy, but there's always some people that still can't pass the course. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is to tell you that's what legitimizes this whole system. It means most of you will do very well, hopefully. I want most of you to do very well. If in the end you do very well, you should know that it wasn't a gift and it wasn't a joke and it wasn't automatic, because some people didn't. If you do everything you're supposed to or asked to and you try, you will do well. But it means you did earn it, because it's totally conceivable to not earn it. Okay. I'm going to look in the chat. I'm almost afraid to look at. I know that was a lot, but hopefully that made sense. But the bottom line is that also is meant to answer Claudia's question. It means the whole philosophy is anything you do is good and should add to your success. And anything you don't do, you didn't do, and we're not focused on that. We're focused on the goodness and trying to amplify that to your outcome. So if you don't do a certain homework or you didn't get all the points on homework, that's not a punishment. It just means you didn't get as many points as you could have. Okay, now I'm going to look in the chat. All right, hopefully. Oh God, my board's going crazy. Sorry, I'm spazzing. Whoa, it's really going crazy. And I know it's already 1:10, so we really have to get the things. I'm not even. Sorry, I will look in the chat. You know where. Okay. And if I keep talking like this and we don't get to if it means that I have to postpone the next homework because we didn't get to, I will. I'll know that, and it always works out in the end. But all right, I'm going to look. I'm going to look in the chat. Okay. Oh, sorry. 3 minutes ago, someone politely in the chat said, "Can I move on, please?" Okay, cool. Yes. Sorry, I will. Yes. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. So it looks like you understand and you want me to move on. Fine. Great. Okay. Yes, move on. Yes, we're good. Like thumbs up. Like, okay. So here we go. All right. Okay. I just spent all the time drawing this, right? Everything I just drew right here. I mean, of course, it's the problem, right? But everything I just drew right here is literally what, sorry. Did I say it wrong? I'm sorry. Wait, the last movement takes, sorry. 3 seconds. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. There should be a portal. I have to open up a portal for catching my mistakes. I don't have a portal yet, but I will. But thank you. That's awesome. You should definitely, sorry. Okay. 3 seconds. Good. But thank you for paying attention. Okay. So now everything I just drew and all the facts that I just wrote down, all of this is what I mean by step 1 DFP. Okay. So I know you already have this on the sheet, right? This diagram and these facts in terms of but I'm pretending now, what I'm doing now is I'm pretending I'm you, like doing the homework for me, right? So I have this blank sheet of paper right here on at the beginning of the paper, like it's labeled what the homework is, blah, blah, blah. And first, I'm literally in my own way presenting a diagram and fact pattern. That's what DFP stands for, diagram and fact pattern. And very intentionally. Now, in some sense, this just involved just copying the information from the sheet, but I copied it with my hand, and that's really important. Like, I made my own version of it. I showed that I know what all the facts are, and I put them in a diagram form. And part of the purpose of the diagram, as you're going to see as things get more and more complicated, the diagram is a picture of the situation. And right now I just basically copied it from the sheet, but I won't always give you one in the sheet. Okay, so it's important to get used to how to do it now. Part of the purpose of the diagram, it's not a picture of how to solve the problem. It's a picture of what the problem is. And you'll know that your diagram is really serving its purpose if everything that's labeled in the diagram, let me say this a different way. If every letter or symbol or constant or variable that's ultimately going to be used in the math that we do and in the equations, if it's provided as some kind of label in the picture, like the real purpose of the diagram is that it actually defines the terms, and you might want to write this down. The purpose of the diagram and fact pattern is it defines the symbols, the letters that we're going to be using once things become algebraic, once they become mathematical later on. Okay, so the first, and just to emphasize, because some people ask me over, and again, this is just to show you what's going on. I did provide this in the sheet, and sometimes I will, and sometimes I won't. But your job is first to provide this when you're doing homework, and you can't computer copy and paste it. You have to do it. I mean, you can use a computer, but you can't copy and paste it. You have to show that you have all the information in your mind that I provided to you. Okay, so this is step 1, DFP, this is what you do first. You get points for this. If this were an exam right now, you'd be expected to do this. And again, also it's because I should be able to now grade whatever you're about to do or understand what you're about to do without having to look at any other document. So you are taking a little time to like repeat and redistill whatever the document said. Okay, so this is step 1 DFP. You would get points for this if it were an exam, or if you didn't have this, you would lose points for it. So just notice, as boring as this might seem, or as like it might seem like a waste of your time, but please notice this is the first out of 5 steps that you do to get points, and you don't have to have solved the thing to do this. You don't have to know any physics to do this. You're just doing it, okay? So that's step 1, DFP, diagram and fact pattern. You give me the situation first. And ideally, at least at this stage in the game, I would recommend that you even just write off in the margin or something, step 1. So I know that you know that that's what you're doing. Okay, I wouldn't take off points if you didn't, but it's a good idea to do it. So now I go to step 2. Okay, so all I've done is present the situation. Now I go to step 2. And step 2 is WIQ. What is the question? Right? So, okay, so the question that we're answering is question 1, right? And the question is, okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the question. Now this is really important too. Again, now I'm going to drag this out now. I mean, I'm glad we're finally on to the homework, but forgive me if I'm going to spell this out. As the homework gets harder and harder, and as physics gets harder and harder, of course, this is going to look more and more like math. Like there's going to be less and less English in it, and it's going to be more symbols and more equations and stuff like that. But notice already, my job here in step 2 is to absolutely make it clear what the question is, so no one else has to see a separate document. And I make it clear in my own words. I just rephrased this slightly. I kind of made it more mathematical. If I had a symbol for distance, which we eventually will have, if I had a symbol like absolute value of x minus x naught or something, I would use that symbol here. I'm just trying to jot down what the question is, all the important information of the question, so that I can answer. Josephine, yes, question. Sorry.
So we have to like rewrite the question, each question?
Yes. Okay. So the answer is yes. No, great question. And I'll try to go more efficiently to everybody. I'm really glad she just reiterated or clarified that. I understand right now if that seems like a big pain in the butt to everybody. It is. And I'll talk like more later about like what, but yeah, the answer is I need you to do that. I have explanations later, but just for now, like, yes, for everybody. And again, just if nothing else, just think of it that your standard is you're trying to produce a document that can be fully read on its own. So yeah, like you got to show what the question is. It's also, this is all meant to prepare all of you guys for later for research and all of that, where like this really has to happen in journal articles and everything. But yes, but to everybody, as long as Josephine's asking, I'm saying you do have to like phrase it your way. You should phrase it your way, distill it down to its essence. But yes, the answer is yes, you need to do that. Okay. But now there too, if this were on exam, you'd get points for doing that. You're now 40% of the way through the question, and you've gotten 40% of the points already, and you haven't done any physics. Like that's the bad and the good of this. I will say that a lot of people leave this out and do lose points on it a lot because it makes it really hard for me to follow what's going on. But anyway, all right, so you do that. So you're showing that you know what the question is. Frankly, no, I got to say one more really quick thing. The other reason that this is so important is, as you can imagine, or you might remember from high school, physics gets to the point where a lot of times people don't even understand. Like they look at the question, they're like, I don't even freaking know what he's asking. Like, I can't even do this. I don't even know what he's asking. Well, we have to train ourselves to be able to try to figure out what's being asked before we can go further. And so the attempt to rewrite it in our own words actually helps with that a lot. But anyway, for good or for bad, I'm glad Josephine asked. She should definitely submit for points.
So,
Okay,
Professor.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sorry.
So when I sent you my PDF, the way that I drew it out, remember? I drew it out when I sent it to you. Was that along the lines of what you wanted, or you wanted me to write it as an equation? Like this?
ultimately, everything is going to turn into equations. Right now, we don't really have equations for these things yet. So it's perfectly fine if it's in English, but you did basically the right idea. I'm just saying to everybody, English is fine. And English is really good. In fact, I'm not saying it can't be English, but I am saying don't literally copy what I wrote word for word.
No, I didn't. What I'm saying is that I don't think you remember the document that I sent you. Remember, I drew it out. I drew it out.
Right. No, that's good. I mean, I didn't look, that's good. That's good. You're right. I'm not like thinking about it exactly what you did.
Because I did it because you told us to do it in 5 steps, right? For each question sorted. So what I did was I drew out initially everything that you said in the question. So based on your question, I drew out the timeline. I drew each person as you, and I broke down each question, and then I wrote my question based on the diagram that I sent you. I don't know. You have to look at it again because I think maybe you don't remember what I said.
All right, I'll look at it more carefully. Right, because I haven't looked at any of them carefully yet, but I'll look at it again more carefully. And if I do have issues, I'll let you know. But then you'll have another chance.
You told me it was right.
Right. Okay. Wait. Okay.
I'm so confused.
No, don't be confused. Wait. I haven't looked at anything carefully yet. I was just saying you did the basic idea right, but it was due today. So I will look at it more carefully. You're doing the basic idea, but if I have, just assume right now you're doing it right. If I have issues with it, I'll let you know, but I won't punish you. You'll have another chance but I'll look at it more closely and let you know.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. So that's step 2. Okay. Now we go to step 3. Step 3 is GDP, which means general definitions and principles. So, and I hope people are like this. I'm trying to clarify now what was sketched out in the tools of Google Classroom, but I'm obviously expanding now. So I highly recommend anybody take extra notes right now about this, because again, we're going to be using this forever. And of course, we'll go faster and faster as we progress. But here in step 3, it means what it says. You're going to write, here's where you sort of write things that you know that are useful to solve the problem. But notice, you already did in step 1, write down the things that you know from the givens in the problem. Step 1 was the given knowledge of the problem. Step 3 is now you're writing things that you know that are true in general. Definitions, principles, laws, your equations. You're going to now write down things that were true even before you looked at this question, but that somehow might be relevant or helpful to this question. Okay, now this is going to become more and more important as the questions get harder and harder. All of this seems, I know to many of you, all of this is like overkill for questions when you can just see the answer in your mind. I fully recognize that. And I forget who, I fully recognize that some of you might be able to get a lot of these answers in your mind. So right now it seems like extra work. I know. But at worst, it's just extra boring work. It's not hard work. It's to prepare you, to give you something to do when you don't know what to do, when things start getting harder. Okay. So just trust me for the moment. So what you would do here, for example, in this case, you would literally, even if you saw the answer in your head, what you're doing here is you're writing down what happened in your head, what happened really quickly in your head. You're breaking it down into a step, and you're saying something like distance equals a triple equal sign. I'll explain that in a second. Distance equals total amount of space between 2 positions independent of direction, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to do those exact words, but I'm saying one thing I'm saying right here, and I'm going to flip the page. If you want me to flip back, let me know. And I know we have 5 minutes left. Notice I'm using this now. I'm introducing this right here. Yeah, we'll pick up on all this next time we have class, but I'm going a little fast now. For the rest of our life, whether you've seen this before in your life or not, for the rest of our life in physics, we want to make this distinction. There's two different kinds of equals. There's regular equals, equal by discovery or circumstance, like PV equals nRT. We figured that out in the lab. We think it's basically true. It's not exactly true. It's never perfectly true, but it's often sometimes true under certain conditions that we discovered in the lab, PV equals nRT. So that's a double equal sign. But whenever two things are equal, by definition, when they're strictly equal, like average speed is defined to be distance over time. We didn't discover that. It isn't sort of sometimes true. We're just saying that instead of saying the words distance divided by time, like every day, we shorten it with this abbreviation called average speed, okay? When things are equal by definition, if they're equal at all by definition, then they're always equal. It's a stronger kind of equality. It's rigid. So we use triple equal signs to denote that. Usually that's the kind of equals we're looking for in this step. So we just said distance is like the total, and eventually these are all going to be symbols and equations. Right now we're in English. So distance equals the total amount of space between two positions, independent of direction, something like that. So in this case, sorry. I should add one word, sorry. Total amount of accumulated, let me just add one word here, sorry. Total amount of accumulated distance between two, and I should change that to the word points, between 2 points, sorry. So in this case, okay, so wait, so that's the general piece of knowledge that I'm writing. I know we have 3 minutes left. So I write that down for step 3. Step 3 is something that I know even before this problem started that I'm going to use for this problem, something general, like a definition or a law or what some of you might sometimes call formulas. We'll talk about that. Or a principle. So the principle that and this is where your brain, right? Even if you figured out question 1 super fast in your brain, you couldn't have figured it out without your brain doing this. You might not want to write it down, but I'm basically telling you, I want you to slow down the movie in your brain, figure out what it did and write it down because you're going to need that movie for harder questions. So we write down distance, the definition of it right here. That's points. I still haven't done anything, but I've gotten points for that. Now I go to step 4. And obviously, we're just going to get this far today, but we'll finish this one, and that'll be it. Step 4 is PAW, which stands for particular application and work. So now we do the thing that everybody sort of considers the work. This is the part, like now we're going to do the plugging and chugging. We're going to apply the particular details of this problem to the general principle that we just thought of in our mind, or that we just wrote down in step 3. So now here in step 4, what we would do is say something like, here, the distance, here we traveled, or he traveled, or whatever, traveled from 4 to -2, that's 6. Then from -2 to 4, that's another 6, right? If I'm ignoring this direction, he went 6, then he went another 6, and then he went from 4 to -5. And you could break this down into, you could use absolute value symbols and stuff. I'm just trying to be very fast now because I know the class is about to end. That's 9. So the total accumulated distance, not worrying about direction, would be 21 feet. That's my work for step 4. Notice I already did 3 steps before I even had to try to do anything. I spent a while setting it up because that's the hardest part in physics, and that's where we all need the most help. So I did this in step 4. We have 1 minute more in class. So then in step 5, the final step, step 5 is FAC, like facts, final answer circled. I go back to the original question. The original question was from t = 0 to t = 8, the distance appears to be, and I end with a full statement, like the distance equals, and I have units, and I watched my units in in step 4. So here is my final answer. And notice it answers my original question. The answer to the original question is from t = 0 to t = 8, the total distance equals 21 feet. Like it's a complete statement of thought. It ends with units. It's the answer. It's circled. It ties back to the question. That's how we complete a problem. It's a lot of work for things that seem easy. It makes your life a lot easier when things are hard. I know it's so hopefully the help. Oh, okay. Wait. So wait, that is class. Wait. Oh, and sorry. Okay, really quickly. Great question in direct chat. Like, say now you go to question 2. You don't have to rewrite the whole diagram again in question 2. In question 2, you could just say for diagram C above, right? And then you start from step. I think that's what this person's asking. Right. Like, right. You don't have to. At step 3, I would keep doing each time. You'll see it's not going to be that hard to, but step 1, right? You can always say C diagram above, or whatever. Yeah. Okay, great. So everybody, thank you very much for your patience and everything. Just keep doing what you're doing. And we'll see each other in a week, I guess. But I'll hang out until the last, you go. I mean, have a nice day, but I'm here until the last person leaves for questions. Have a good day. And I'm going to stop. Yes. Have a good day. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. When do I upload sorry. Oh, let me stop the recording. So